So if you have any issues, you can unmute the mic and ask, or you can drop a message to the chat. So today we are moving to under the same topic, the role of
of
information
information.
system in business today. We are
We are
moving
moving
to
to the
the new
new
part,
part,
which is strategic
strategic
business
business.
objectives. During the
Continue the
lecture,
lecture.
if
If
there's
there's
any
any
issue
issue,
with
if
this
the
sound
sounds
issues
issue is
continues,
continuous,
please
please
inform
inform
us.
us.
Right. So
So
if
if
we're
we
moving
moving
to
to
the
the
first
first
point, it
point, it
says
says
information
information system
systems are essential
essential
for
for
conducting
conducting
day-to-day
day-to-day
business
business
in
in
most of
most
the
of the
advanced
advanced
countries,
countries,
as
as
well
well
as
as
achieving
achieving
strategic
strategic
business
business
objectives.
objectives.
So
So
as
as
we
we
all
all
know,
know,
it's
it is
not
not
only the
only the
advanced
advanced
countries,
bus,
but
but
almost
almost
all the
all the
countries.
countries
Now the
now the
information systems become essential
essential
tool
tool
in
in
order to
order to
conduct
conduct
the
the
business
business activity,
activities of these countries, right?
right?
So
So
even in
even in
Sri Lanka, even in
even in
any
any
country,
country
nowadays
nowadays
we
we
can
can
observe
observe
that
that
organizations
organizations
are
are
heavily
heavily
depends on
depends
the
on the
information
information,
systems, right?
right?
So in
So in
order to
order to
conduct their
conduct their
activities, so
activities, so
even the
even
universities,
universities,
they
they
are
are
depends on
depends on
information systems. We are conducting these lectures online because of
Excuse me,
the
madam.
information systems. Right. And so, as we all know, in order to conduct their day-to-day activities of the organizations, today the organizations are using these information systems, right? So it is not only the advanced countries. Any country, they are heavily depends on the information systems, right? So at the same time, while conducting their day-to-day activities of the organizations, in order to achieve the strategic business objectives of the organizations, today organizations are heavily using these information systems, right? So now the second point says there's a growing interdependence between a firm's ability to use information systems and its ability to implement corporate strategic and corporate objectives of the organizations, right? So that means there's a direct relationship between the organization's ability to use the information technology as well as their ability to implement the strategies and goals of the organization. Now, if we move to this figure 1.2, there we can clearly identify this relationship that exists between the organizations and information system, right? So the left side of this figure, it represents the business firms. So inside the business firm, we can see the strategic objectives and the business processes of the organization. And then in the right side, we can see the information system. So it represents these different components which create our information system. So there we have hardware, we have the software, data management, and telecommunications, right? So if we take the hardware, these are the physical components of our system. And then the software, these are the programs that give instructions to our computers. And then we have data management. So the data management is where we try to manage and organize our data. And then we have the telecommunications, which we use to connect these different devices together, right? So all these components, it creates the information systems. Now this explanation, it says, in contemporary systems, there's a growing interdependence between a firm's information systems and its business capabilities, right? So there's a two-way relationship that exists between the information systems and the capabilities of the organization. Changes in strategy, rules, and business processes increasingly require changes in hardware, software, database, and telecommunications. Often, what the organization would like to do depends on what its systems will permit to do. Now, what this is, right? So, when we are going to introduce the information systems to the organization, first we need to look at what are the objectives of the organization and what are the business processes of the organization. So accordingly, what you are going to introduce to the organization can change, right? Your technologies can change. Therefore, when we are going to introduce the system to the organization, first we need to look at this aspect, the objectives, the processes of the organization. And then Once the system is introduced to the organization, how well you achieve your objectives, how efficient your business processes are, that heavily depends on the capabilities of your information system, right? So that is the two-way relationship exists between these information systems and business firms, right? So I hope that part is clear to you. If you have any issues, you can ask, right? Now, if I'm moving on to the earlier point, it says what a business would like to do in 5 years often depends on what its systems will be able to do, right? Now, today, because since the information systems become integral part of the organization capabilities, what the organization will achieve in the future, that heavily depends on the capabilities of their system. So, this is again a match with this the second point that we have discussed, right? This is also explain about that direct relationship exists between the organizations and information systems, right? So the organization could have the different expectations. They may want to increase their market share, or they may want to become the quality and low cost producer, or they may want to develop the new products. So how they achieve this and how well they can achieve this, that heavily depends on the abilities of the organization's information systems, right? Now for an example, now if we take this easy cash. So the easy cash was first introduced by the dialogue, right? So when this is introduced by the dialogue to the market, the Mobitel, they cannot introduce similar thing within the shorter period of time, right? So they have introduced Mcash, but it takes some time, right? So why? Because they don't have, even the dialogue introduced that technology, they don't have the relevant technologies and the relevant systems in order to introduce that new product to the market. So likewise, how well and what you can achieve in the future is depends on your systems. And if we take another example, now if we take this increasing market share, right? Let's say organization want to increase their market share, right? So the compared to the organization which don't use the information system, now if your organization is using these information systems, then it says now you are in a position to increase your market share in a greater way, right? So if you have the information systems, that means you are in a position to get access to the wider customer base. And also you are in a position to expand your business to the different geographical areas, right? So all these things will indicate that you are in a position to increase your market share in a significant way compared to the organizations which are not using the information systems, right? So this again tells how well you can achieve things is depends on the abilities of your information system. Right. So then it says business firms invest heavily on information systems to achieve 6 strategic business objectives. Right. So now we are going to look at why the business organizations are invest on the information systems. Why? One of the main reason is because it helps the organization to achieve their strategic business objectives in more efficient and effective way, right? So we know as organization, they have the objectives. They are expecting certain outcomes to be achieved in the future. So these are the objectives of the organization, right? So these objectives are anyway there. When the organization is start their business activities, they define what are their objectives, what is their vision. So these things they define, right? So these objectives are anyway there. This technology is not enable these objectives, but these technologies are helping the organizations to achieve their objectives in more efficient and effective manner, right? That is why organizations are investing on the information systems, because it facilitates the achievement of the objectives in more efficient and effective way. So likewise, we can observe the 6 main objectives that, that are available inside the organization and that can be achieved more efficiently by using the information systems. So what are these 6 objectives? Improving operational excellence, introducing new products, services and business models, improving customer and supplier intimacy, improving decision making, gaining competitive advantage and survival. So we are going to discuss about each of these objectives in detail from the next slide, right? So can you please confirm me whether this hearing issue is still there? Is it okay now? Can
Yes,
you
madam.
hear me properly?
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
Right. Okay. So since few student has confirmed that, so I'm going to continue the lecture. So what is our first objective? That is improving operational excellence, right? So organization want to excel their business operations. So organization want to improve or make their operational activities more excellent. So that would be one of the objectives of the organization. So what is this operational excellence? Improvement of efficiency to gain higher profitability. So the organization want to improve their efficiency. So the efficiency means the organization try to do their work with limited amount of resources. That is what we identified as efficiency. So the efficiency helps organization to reduce their cost and do the activities within shorter period of time. So likewise, in that way, the organization can improve the efficiency. And when you improve your efficiency, it helps the organization to achieve high level of profitability, right? So that is the operational excellence of the organization. You try to make your operational activities of more efficient and which ultimately help the organization to enhance the profitability of the organization. Information systems and technologies are important tools in achieving great efficiency and productivity. So now we have learned what is this operational excellence. So the next point says how the information systems are facilitating this operational excellence, right? So when you are using the information systems within the organization, we know you are in a position to do your work within shorter period of time and also by requiring the limited amount of resources, right? So earlier if you were 10 people, now the same activity you can perform with limited number of people. So that is where you are becoming efficient, right? So for an example, this says Walmart's retailing system links suppliers to stores for superior replenishment systems, right? Now, if we take the Walmart has implemented their retailing system, right? So, what is this retailing system? Through these systems, they are linking their systems, their internal systems with their suppliers, right? Now, before that, now before connecting with the suppliers, Walmart, they are the ones who maintain their inventories, right? So we know the Walmart, it is a retail company, right? So by being a retail organization, now all their inventories they maintain in their warehouses, right? So all the stock now checking these stores and ordering, so everything they done by using the human resource, right? But when they use this retailing system, what happened? Now they are giving their suppliers access to their organization systems, right? So by using that, now the suppliers can monitor how the products are moving in their retail outlets. So that suppliers can decide what products need to be delivered to the organization, in what quantities, and from in what during what times these things need to be delivered. So everything can be determined by the suppliers, right? So now that maintaining inventory that is done by the supplier. So we say it as a vendor managed inventory. The supplier is the one who is maintained and who is responsible for that inventory, right? So in that way, the organization is in a position to reduce their cost. Earlier, the Walmart has to incur cost on the ordering the products, and also in order to maintain their stocks, they have to incur cost. But now everything is done by the suppliers. They are managing the inventory of the organization. So the organization is in a position to reduce their cost. So which helps the organization to become more efficient and which ultimately enhance their profitability. So I hope that is clear to you. So here we looked at what is the objective and how the information systems facilitate organization to achieve this objective. Right? So I hope that is clear. Now if we moving to the second one, introducing new products, services and business models. So that is the second objective of the organization. Information systems and technologies are major enabling tool for new products and services as well as new business models, right? Now, by using the information systems, today the organizations are in a position to introduce new products, services and business models to the organization, right? Now, for an example, if we take the new products, this Apple iPod, Apple iPhone, so these can be identified as more advanced, technologically advanced products which were introduced using these information systems, right? Now, if we take the Apple iPod, now compared to the earlier version, now they are time to time they are introducing the new version and they are using the different capabilities. They are enabling the different capabilities in these devices by using the information systems. Even the Apple iPhone, we know it is one of the phone which comes with the advanced smartphone features, right? It is having more sophisticated features inside the device. So this is again enabled using the information systems, right? Now, if we take the new service, this iTunes music service, right? So Apple introduced this iTunes music service. So before that, now if we take this music, now the people used to listen to the music by using these cassette tapes or something like that, right? But with the introduction of this iTunes, what happened now? The people can subscribe to this iTunes service, and then once you subscribe, they are having a large storage of this music, right? Digital music, right? So once you subscribe, you can get access to this large repository of digital music, and you are in a position to listen to this music online, right? At the same time, you are in a position to download some music files and listen them offline. So this is again a new service. Now without this technology, such services cannot be introduced. You digitally store these music files, and then by taking a subscription fee, you are giving access to the people who likely to join with that service, right? That is a new service. In addition to that, information systems also help the organization to introduce new business models. So what is a business model? That is the first thing you need to know. So the business model is basically describe how the organization produce, deliver and sell their products and services, right? That is the entire business model of the organization. How they produce, how they deliver and how they sell their products and services. So ultimately, this helps the organization to increase their wealth, right? So this we identify as a business model. Now, with the introduction of these information systems, organizations have introduced new business models, right? Now, if we take this Netflix internet-based DVD rental, that is a new business model, right? So earlier, if you want to watch a movie, you used to go to a DVD shop and buy a DVD or rent a DVD and then watch that movie, right? But this Netflix, so earlier also they used to deliver these DVDs through post. But later, when they introduced these new technologies, they have adapted the information systems to their business and they have changed their business models, right? So the Netflix, they have introduced these video streaming services, which include the large collection of TV series, movies, which people can watch, right? So similar to the iTunes, here also the people can watch movies by subscribing to their service. They can watch movies online, they can download and watch movies, TV series offline by using this service, right? So this is a new business model, right? This is introduced as a result of these information systems. Another one is sale of books online by Amazon. Now, normally, if we look at the traditional bookstores, now traditionally we used to go to a physical book outlet, bookstore, and purchase books and then read them, right? But this Amazon, they have introduced the sale of books online, right? Now you don't have to go to a physical outlets, rather the books are available to be purchased online. You can go to the Amazon website and you can select the book you want. You can go through the description, everything is available, and then you can purchase that book online, right? So now today, if we look at the Amazon, now they are not only limited to a bookstore. Now they have become one of the largest e-retailer, right? They are now introducing the different types of products in their website, right? Then the other one is improving customer and supplier intimacy. So what do we identify as intimacy? Intimacy means the relationship, right? So these information systems, it helps us to improve the relationship that exists between the customers and suppliers. So this says knowing customers well and serving them well leads to customer returning, which raises revenue and profits, right? Now, by using the information of the customer in order to enhance the relationships of the customers, the organization should be able to understand their customer needs properly and then serve to the customers accordingly, right? So these information systems help the organization to clearly identify, correctly identify their customers. What are their customer preferences, what the customer want, and what are the behaviors of the customers. These things can properly be identified using the information systems, right? So when you serve your customers in a better way, that means these customers are satisfied with your products or service. And then that means these customers are returning to your organization. So this will ultimately improve the revenue and profits of the organization, right? So the information system helps organization to identify their customers in a better way and then serve the customers in a better way. Now, if we look at the example given, it says high-end hotels that use computers to track customer preferences and to customize environment. Now, these high-end hotels, they are using their systems. They are using systems in order to track the preferences of the customers, right? Now, these Hilton hotels, they have a system called on-queue system. So, when the customer visit to the hotel for the first time, the system captures the behaviors of the customers, right? So, when the customer go to his room, when the customer check in and go to his room, then the system will capture what sort of lighting preferences the customer would prefer and what sort of music the customer would prefer, what sort of temperature condition the customer would prefer, and what are the frequently dial numbers by the customer. So these things, the behaviors of the customers, the preferences of the customers, these things are being recorded by the system, right? So then next time, when the customer visit to any of the hotels of their hotel chain, the customized environment is created to the customer as soon as customer go to their hotel, right? So that is how the organizations are using information systems in order to strengthen the relationship that exists between the customer and the organization. And the next one is intimacy with supplier allows them to provide vital inputs which lower cost, right? So other one is the relationship with the supplier, right? So these information systems, it even help the organization to maintain a better, strong relationship with their suppliers as well, right? So ultimately, this help the organization to reduce their cost. Now, for an example, it says uh, this JC Penny information systems which link sales record to contract manufacturer TA Apparel Limited in Hong Kong. Right now, if we take this JC Penny, that is a US based fashion outlet, right? So they are contract manufacturer who is doing all their textile items. That is the TA Apparel. So that is based on Hong Kong. Now we can observe these two countries, the supplier and the organization. They are operating two countries, but still their systems are linked with each other, right? The TA Apparel, even they are in Hong Kong, they can monitor real time how the stocks are moving in the organization, right? So by doing that, so they can determine what items need to be make available, so they can start their manufacturing activities more quickly. So because the informations are readily available, right? So this is facilitated because of the strong relationship that exists between the supplier and the organization. And then the information system is the one which help the organization to maintain this strong relationship with the supplier and the organization. Is it clear to you? So the things I have discussed so far, is everything clear?
Yes, madam.
So then we are moving to the next objective, improving decision making. Absence of right information at the right time leads to decisions based on wrong forecast, best guesses, and luck, which result. Now we know in order to make the decision, we need the right information, right? We need the right information at the right time, right? So if we don't have the right information at the right time, then what we do? We make our decision maybe based on the wrong forecast, right? Or maybe based on the luck, we take some decisions, right? So when we take the decisions based on the wrong information, that means based on the forecast or based on the luck or based on the best guesses, if we are going to take our decisions, what happens? There can be certain negative consequences organization may experience. So one thing is overproduction, underproduction of goods and services, right? Sometimes based on the wrong information, you make wrong production plans, right? So you end up with producing more than what is required, or you are end up producing less than what is required. And then other one is misallocation of resources, right? So if you don't take the correct decisions, then sometimes you are not allocating the resources to a critical activities in a sufficient way, right? So you are not allocating the adequate amount of resources for the critical activities, right? So sometimes for the critical activities of the organization, there are limited amount of resources, and you are allocating more resources to the non-value adding activities, right? So likewise there can be misallocation of resources. If you are misallocating the resources, you are not in a position to do your operations in a smooth way. Another one is poor response time, right? So if you don't create your plans, if you don't take the decisions in a correct way, if your production plans are not correct, and if your sales forecasts are not correct, so then what happened? It create a situation where which is a poor response time, right? So you are not in a position to respond to your customer request or customer orders in a timely manner, right? So even you get the demand from your customer, you are not in a position to fulfill those customer demands because you don't have the sufficient amount of resources or products in your organization. Why that happened? Because of the poor decisions or the wrong decisions, right? So likewise, there can be these kind of negative consequences which create as a result of the wrong decisions. So the poor outcomes will raise cost and lose customers. So because of these poor outcomes, what happens? So it sometimes will increase the cost to the organization. So let's take for an example, if the organization go with overproduction, you produce more than required, right? So then at the end of a required time, you are not in a position to sell these products. So then there can be, but you have to maintain them in your inventories. For that, you have to incur cost. And then sometimes after a particular period of time, these products will get obsolete, right? So there's a cost involved. So likewise, there's a cost to the organization. At the same time, organization may lose customers if you cannot respond to the customers in a proper way, if you cannot fulfill the customer orders on a given time, then you may lose your customers as well, right? So all this happen because of the poor decision making. So in the next point, it says IS and technologies have made it possible for us to use real-time data from the marketplace for decision making, right? So now we have learned what are the negative consequences of not having the correct information. Now by using the information systems, we are in a position to have the real-time information, right? The information systems make the informations available on a real time. More up-to-date informations are with us now. So by using that, we are in a position to make the right decisions on right time. Now here it gives the example, Verizon web-based digital dashboard is used to provide managers with real-time data on customer complaints, network performance and live outage. Right now, if we take the Verizon, it is a telecommunication company. Right now, they are using a digital dashboard. Now, the digital dashboard means on a single screen, all the critical factors or the critical performance indicators are visible to the management. Right. So, looking at that, managers can get the information relevant to the customer complaints, network performance, line outage. So these things can be get on real time, right? So the managers can decide whether there's any delay in the download speed, whether there are network traffics involved. So these can be determined, and also if there are more complaints coming from the customers, then managers can quickly attend to these complaints. And then if there are line outages, then managers can direct their staff to solve these issues. So everything can be done real time. All the decisions can be done real time because this dashboard provide the real time information to their managers, right? So this facilitate the decision making, right? So this is how the information systems are improving the decision making of the organization. So the next one is gaining competitive advantage. So what is competitive advantage? So the competitive advantage is something that the organization can do better than their competitors, right? If there are certain things which organization can do better than their competitors. So in these instances, we say the organization is having competitive advantage over others, right? Sometimes you may have unique resources, or sometimes you are in a position to do your activities more efficient way, right? compared to your competitors. So all this helps the organization to gain the competitive advantage, right? And the competitive advantage helps the organization to become the market leader, because you are the one who is performing certain things in a better way than your competitors. So you can become market leader. So this is often achieved when a firm achieves one of the first four advantages, right? So now, so far we have discussed four advantages, right? Improving operational excellence, introducing new products, services, and business models, uh, improving decision making, strengthening customer and supplier intimacy. So where we have discussed about four main strategic objectives. So when the organization achieve one of these objectives, then we say organization can achieve competitive advantage. Doing things better than your competitors, changing less for superior products, and responding to customers and suppliers in real time all add up to higher sales and higher profit that your competitors cannot match. So when the organization, let's say, compared to your competitors, you are charging very low price from the customers, right? So compared to your competitors, you are in a position to take the right decisions on the right time. So you are in a position to create strong relationship with your customers by identifying them in a proper way, and you are in a position to strengthen your relationship that you maintain with your suppliers, right? So because of all these things, because when you achieve these things, it helps the organization to increase their revenue and then increase their profit, which cannot match with the competitor. Compared to the competitor, you are in a position to achieve greater revenue and greater profit. Now, if we take the Apple, now if we take the smartphones, now the Apple become the leader, right? They are introducing the smartphones with more sophisticated, advanced features, right? So they become the market leader. So that is by introducing new product and services. And then if we take the Walmart, as I mentioned earlier, it is a retail outlet. Now they have identified as a low cost retailer, right? So they have become the market leader in terms of cost. By achieving the cost leadership, they have become the market leader. And if we take the UPS, United Parcel Service, so they are mainly the packaging and logistic company. So they are using the information systems within the organization in determining the most efficient routes that they can follow. And also they are using the automated packing system where the customers can track their orders, customers can identify the stage of delivery. So these things can be identified by the customers. So when you provide these kind of new services, efficient services to the customers, then ultimately organization can achieve this competitive advantage, right? That is another objective. And next one is survival, right? So even to survive in the industry, organizations are introducing these information systems. Information technologies are necessities of business. Sometimes these necessities are driven by industry level changes, right? So sometimes these information systems become necessities for the organization. So it becomes something that is very much important or integral thing within the organization, right? So now for an example, now here the example is given as Citibank introduction of ATM, right? So sometimes, let's say when the technology is first introduced to the market, it gives competitive advantage to that company, right? But we know when new things are introduced, people begin to copy. Then all other companies, they begin to imitate or copy these new product and services, right? Then they introduce these things within their organization, right? So then what happened? Then it become the necessity for any organization. Now if we take this Citibank example, so the Citibank is the one which introduced the first ATM, right? So when the ATM is introduced by the Citibank, all other banks, they also begin to introduce the ATM facilities in their banks, right? Now what happened when all the banks introduced the ATM? Now even the industry is changing. Now the banking industry, they are introducing this ATM, right? So it becomes the integral part within the organization. Now rather go inside the bank and withdraw your money, the customer feels it is more convenient to use this ATM facilities. Even the customers adapting to this facility, right? So therefore, all the banks, they are introducing the ATM facility, right? So here, if any bank don't have this ATM facility, then what happen? They are unable to survive. Therefore, as a tool to survive, sometimes organization need to invest on the information systems, right? So if the any bank is entering into this banking industry, they have to necessarily they have to invest on establishing ATM facility, right? Because it does not give them competitive advantage. But if they want to survive in the industry, they have to invest on that ATM facility, right? So that is how this information system become a tool for survival. For the purpose of surviving in the industry, organizations are investing on the information system because information systems are changing the entire industry. Therefore, even your organization need to adapt to these changes, right? So these are the six main objectives which are being enhanced or which can be achieved more efficiently and effectively by using the information system. Is it clear to you? Can you please confirm that the things that we have discussed so far, is everything clear?
Yes, madam.
Right. Next, we are moving on to a new topic, right? So far we are in the topic, the role of information systems in business today, perspectives of information systems, right? So under that, the dimensions of information systems. So this says to fully understand information systems, you must understand the broad organization, management, and information technology dimensions of information systems. See figure 1.5 and their power to provide solutions to challenges and problems in the business environment. Right? So now, when we talk about this information system concept, what first comes to our mind? It is something which associated with the technology. The technology is the one which first comes to our mind when we say information systems, right? But if when we are going to implement these information systems, we need to have a full understanding about the information system, right? So in order to get that understanding, to fully understand the information system, we are not only look at the technology, we also need to have a broader understanding about the organization, management, as well as the information technology dimensions. Right? Now here it says the information systems are more than computers. So it is not just the computers, right? So when we talk about these information systems, it is important we need to look at three main dimensions: organization dimension, technology dimension, and the management dimension, because all these three dimensions together shape these information systems, right? That is why we need to learn about these three dimensions. So from now onwards, we are going to discuss about these dimensions in detail. So the first dimension is the organization dimension, right? So the organization dimension, under that organization dimension, we are going to discuss about the few components that we can observe inside the organization. So we need to know about these components when we are going to introduce information systems. So one component is organizational structure, right? So the basically organization structure represent how the work is directed within the organization to achieve their goals and objectives. How the work is organized, how the work is directed inside the organization, right? So it could be how your work is distributed within the organization, how the responsibilities are assigned within the organization, and how the communication is taken place inside the organization. So all these represent the organizational structure. Organizations have a structure that is composed of different levels and specialties. Now, if we take the structure of the organization, now it represents the structure which is with a different levels. In the organization structure, we have the different levels, right? And these different levels represent the people with different specialties, right? Authority and responsibility in a business firm are organized in a hierarchy or a pyramid structure, right? Now, in this organization structure, we can observe the authority and responsibility. The authority is the power to give order, right? The supervisors, they have power to give orders for their subordinates, right? For their lower level workers. That is authority. Then the responsibility is once this work is assigned to them, these lower level workers, these so now this responsibility if we take, that is the obligation of the subordinates to perform the task or to perform the duties that is assigned to them. That is what we identified as the responsibility, right? So from the higher level, these things are delegated to the lower level. So that is why it says it is organized in a hierarchy or a pyramid structure. The upper levels of the hierarchy consist of managerial and professional employees, whereas lower level consist of operational personnel. So if we look at this figure 1.6, here we can observe the levels in a firm, right? So if we look at this lower level, the lower level represents the operational management, right? So it includes the production and service workers, data workers. So that is the operational level workers who engage with the day-to-day activities of the organization. They may be the ones who directly deal with these information systems, these operational workers. And then we have the mid-level workers, middle management. So that represent the scientists and the knowledge workers. So these are the people with specialties, right? They are the ones who utilize knowledge inside the organization, who utilize knowledge to do new things, who are with the specialized knowledge. That part represented by this middle management. So it could be now for an example, if we take for the knowledge workers, for an example, even the lecturers, lawyers, doctors, they can identify it as these knowledge workers. They use their knowledge in order to do their work, right? Then we have the senior management. So the senior management, so that is the higher level of the organization. They are the ones who make the long-term plans of the organization. They are the ones who take long-term decisions of the organization. So likewise, we can observe three levels within the organization in this organization hierarchy, and this hierarchy is arranged in a pyramid structure, right? So even the description says business organizations are hierarchies consisting of three principal levels: senior management, middle management, and operational management. Information systems serve each of these levels. Scientists and knowledge workers often work with middle management, right? So this description again tells about the things that I have explained here. So if we look at the other dimensions which we can observe in this organization, one is business functions. So within the organization, there can have the different functional areas, right? So here the examples are given: sales and marketing, human resources, finance and accounting, production and manufacturing. So these are the different business functions of the organizations, right? So each of these functions, they perform some specialized business activities or some specialized business processes. And each of these functions, we know there are certain specific objectives that each of these functions want to achieve, which ultimately cater to the organization's overall objectives, right? So when introducing the information systems to the organization, we need to look at what are the specific activities that are performed by these different functional areas, and what are the objectives, specific objectives that each of these functional areas want to achieve. Likewise, we need to look at the different aspect of these different functional areas of the organization, right? Because the system need to cater to the organization as well as to these different functional areas. It need to facilitate the integration among these different functional areas. So to identify that, the system need to identify the activities performed by these different functions and how they integrate with each other. These things need to be identified. So that is why this business function become an important component under this organizational domain. Then the business processes. An organization coordinates work through its hierarchy and its unique business processes, right? So when organization, it creates through this, now organization, it represents the collection of business processes. Inside the organization, we can observe different types of business processes. There can be thousands of business processes within the organization, right? So the business processes is a collection of activities we perform in order to produce a product or service, right? So now recruiting an employee or doing a marketing campaign, manufacturing a product, and fulfilling the customer order. These things we can identify as the business processes that are inside the organization, right? So now why we need to know about the business processes when we are going to introduce information system? Why? Because now when you are going to introduce the system, why you are going to introduce the systems? Because to make your business processes more efficient. That is one of the purpose of introducing these information systems, right? So when, if you are introducing the systems to make your business processes more efficient, then you must know what is the sequence of performing the activities inside the business process, right? What activities can perform parallelly? What activities, what is the sequence, right? What are the non-value adding activities, value adding activities that are inside the business process? What are the critical business processes, right? So these things need to know when you are introducing the information systems, right? Accordingly, how you design the information system can change. So the next one is organizational culture. Fundamental set of assumptions, values, and ways of doing things, right? Now we know any organization have a unique culture, right? Any organization, they have a unique culture, right? So there's a particular way of doing things, right? So based on your culture, you do your activities, right? There are certain values, beliefs, basic assumptions inside your organization culture which shape your behavior, right? In university also, we have a particular culture. So that culture create a unique behavior within the organization, within the university, right? Likewise, this organization culture is basically represent the ways of doing things based on these basic assumptions, beliefs, and values that are being accepted by the majority of the people of the organization. Now, as I mentioned earlier, now any organization, they have some strong unique cultures, and these cultures can have a strong influence on your information system implementation. Let's take for an example, you have a culture where people don't like to change, where people don't like the technology, where people don't like to try new things, right? If your culture is such, then in that case, you are not in a position to introduce your information systems to the organization in a more effective way. Why? Because there can be resistances from the people, because your culture itself is not something which is like to change, which is like to try new things. So there can be resistance from the culture itself, right? And on the other hand, if we have a culture which embrace the new things, which like to change, which like to go with the technology. We have the people like that, and our likewise, if we have this kind of a culture, then that means you are in introduce the information systems to the organization in a more successful manner, right? So likewise, based on the culture, your system implementations can be changed, right? So if you are going to introduce the system to that kind of traditional culture, then there can be certain critical decisions that you have to take. You need to learn the people, you need to make the people educated, and you have to carefully plan your system implementation. All these things need to do if you have this kind of a organization culture, right? So likewise, the organization culture can have a direct influence on this system implementation. That is why we need to look at this organization culture. Other one is organization politics. Conflict of different interest and point of view between the different groups, right? So this organization politics is the conflict of the interest or point of view between the different people, right? Now, now within the organization, we have the people with different specialties, with different opinions, with different mindsets, right? So these create a different viewpoints among the people, right? So now when you are going to introduce an information system to your organization, there can be some set of people, certain set of people who view this system implementation in a positive manner, right? Right. They think that because of these systems, we can make our work more easy, we can make our work more efficient. So this system introduction is a good thing. Also, there can be some set of people who may not have a good skill of using the systems, and who may reduce their power with the introduction of systems. So they perceive this system as a negative thing, right? Likewise, there can be the conflicting views among the people. Some people think information system as a good thing. Some people think information system as unnecessary or bad thing. So because of that, there can be conflicting viewpoints that create among the people. So that we identified as the organizational politics. So when these conflicts are there, it is very much difficult to introduce these systems to the organization, right? Therefore, before introducing the system or when you are going to introduce the system, it is very much important. You need to be careful on this organization politics as well, right? So these are the dimensions, components that we can discuss under this organizational dimension, right? So is everything clear to you? Can you please confirm that? Is everything clear? So do you have
Yes,
any
madam.
issues from the points that we have discussed so far? Right. Several students has confirmed that everything is clear. Now our plan is, now it's 8:30, right? So we are going to take today, as we mentioned in the LMS, today we are going to continue the lecture until 10 o'clock, right? Since we are unable to conduct the lecture on Thursday, today we are going to conduct the lecture until 10 o'clock. So now it is 8:30. So we are going to take a 30 minutes, 15 minutes break and start the lecture in 8:45, right? So what you can do is don't leave the meeting, right? So go and drink some water and take your breakfast and come within 15 minutes, right? We are going to start the lecture in 15 minutes and kindly don't leave the lecture, right? So thank you so much. The next part will be conducted by the different lecturer. Thank you so much, right?